Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video not only covering all of the Zelda games Nintendo has confirmed to be in development or releasing soon, but every new Zelda rumor and leak. We will begin with the different confirmed games, then cover the rumors and leaks starting with the most believable that have evidence to back it up or were hinted at by Nintendo, and then ending with the least believable. Everything from Ocarina of Time HD, Majora's Mask HD, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, the Oracle remakes, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. It is not just remakes though. We even have rumors on new original Zelda games. Since some of these rumors and leaks are expected to be confirmed at Nintendo's presentation at E3 this June, definitely be expecting an update video like this after their direct. Now if you're thinking, hold up, this is clickbait to be sure. There is no way Nintendo is going to announce all of these games. There is no way Nintendo is going to announce all of these games, and you probably have no idea what you're talking about or what Nintendo is doing. In which case, I say this might sound like we're bragging here, but we do have a few videos linked below for proof of our track record. The point of this video is actually just to clear up the confusion or the misunderstandings people have with what has been confirmed and which things are rumors and which rumors are reliable and which are, mostly just made up. All of which, of course, are using actual evidence like interviews and announcements to back it up. Now, starting off with what is confirmed. We obviously have Age of Calamity DLC coming this month and June. Our last video actually went quite in depth on some behind the scenes details as well as a possible new feature that could be coming to the game. We expect some screenshots, images, or a full trailer for the DLC this month, since it does release later this month on the 28th, and we have the first major pack coming this June, the same month as E3, and the second pack coming in November. Just 1 month before the Game Awards, where Breath of the Wild's Champion Ballad DLC was first shown off. We strongly believe that we will be getting a third and fourth DLC pack for 2022 as well, based on some info we've put together and a bit of common sense. Next, we of course have Skyward Sword HD. Crazy thing, while this video was being edited, we originally had a summary of our past videos where we stated a new Skyward Sword HD trailer showing off amiibo would be releasing. But while this video was in the process of being edited, Nintendo actually released that trailer and the ability it has. It's the same as what Daniel mentioned on a previous podcast episode. Although, to continue, Nintendo really needs to do everything they can to show fans that Skyward Sword HD is worth their $60. They will not want to spend a lot of their E3 Direct showing off Skyward Sword. This will just make the reaction even more negative, with people thinking Nintendo could have used that time for an actual new game, not one that is just another remake that we've already seen. With that said, the game releases just 1 month after E3, and Nintendo will want to have a big trailer detailing all of the amiibo functionality and any possible functions it may have with Breath of the Wild 2, similar to Wolf Link with Twilight Princess and the original Breath of the Wild. They will also need a trailer to detail the changes of Skyward Sword HD and to prove that the controls are better. A lot of people posted their confusion on that. We don't think we will see all of this at E3, so that is why we expect something sooner. Or they could just do a treehouse after E3 where they simply play through the game and talk about it, like they did for Breath of the Wild and Link's Awakening. Next is Breath of the Wild 2. We will keep this one short as we are being sent random rumors and leaks about it all the time. Some of them seem believable, some are from trusted sources, some obviously made up from people who just want to hear their name in a video. With that in mind, we will have a video in the description for a full playlist covering everything we know about the game, its release, theories, rumors, and more.
Monolith Soft. We 100% know that Monolith Soft has been hard at work for 2 years or more on their own Zelda project. Some rumors think the team is helping with Breath of the Wild 2, like they did with Breath of the Wild 1, but I don't think Nintendo would have made such a big deal out of them creating their own official Zelda team, if that was the case. So while some could be helping, I think Monolith Soft has been working on their own Zelda game, or helping with one of the many remakes that is rumored, like Twilight Princess HD, Wind Waker HD, Phantom Hourglass, and the rest. Now, here's a weird view. These are games that were confirmed, by Aonuma, Miyamoto, or Nintendo themselves, but have since gone silent. Like Miyamoto when he confirmed Pikmin 4 and Super Mario Galaxy 3 were almost done, and we never heard anything ever again. These Zelda games were either quietly cancelled or just waiting for the right time to be announced again. Zelda's mobile game. Yes, this one is weird. Daniel makes fun of it all the time. But Nintendo confirmed a Zelda cell phone game was coming as part of their big partnership with DNA and other mobile game developers. Most of Nintendo's games have been a huge success, and Zelda was said to be coming after Animal Crossing and Mario Kart. However, we've yet to get any update. Would the Zelda game be similar to Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, with full touch control designed specifically for smartphones and tablets? Or would it be something more like a traditional 2D Zelda with virtual buttons on the screen? Speaking of 2D Zelda, Aonuma and Miyamoto both confirmed a new 2D Zelda game was in development, and they wanted to evolve what we think of 2D Zelda. Yes, Link's Awakening has released since then. However, that was made by 𝐓𝐵, not Nintendo, and wasn't in development at that time, and it in no way evolved what 2D Zelda gameplay was. The closest we do have to evolving 2D Zelda was actually with A Link Between Worlds, allowing the world to be played in 2D, then the camera moves to 3D during a cutscene or when merging into a wall, allowing us to see the world from a new perspective. That technically counts as evolving 2D Zelda. Paper Zelda. Just putting this here because Aonuma and Miyamoto did technically tease they would be making a Paper Zelda, which just happens to be another way that would make sense as a way to evolve 2D Zelda. A Zelda game using Paper Mario art style would actually be a big evolution for 2D Zelda. We even have several indie developers saying multiple times they would love to work on a Zelda 2 remake, just so happen to want to be remade in the Paper Zelda art style, as the graphics are already similar. Now, past the confirmed stuff, we have games that are all but confirmed. Rumors and leaks that are heavily supported and backed up by interviews, facts, history, and more. These are games that haven't been confirmed, even though I believe the first ones on this section have a better chance of releasing than the actual confirmed 2D Zelda or smartphone Zelda. So starting off with the most likely, and getting crazier as we go, Ocarina of Time HD and Majora's Mask HD. I'm putting these two together for obvious reasons. I have another video going really in depth on this game, which is linked below, and another coming soon with new details we were told. Fun fact, after Ocarina of Time 3D released on the 3DS, Miyamoto and Aonuma kept saying in interviews how much they would love to see that version of the game on a big screen TV with a sharp image and better sound system. So even the people in charge of the Zelda series have been wanting Ocarina of Time in HD. Basically, 𝐓𝐵 is always working on 3 or 4 different games at the same time, having at least 1 or 2 different Zelda games in development at the same time. Sometimes even 3 Zelda games in development at once. Yes, working on 3 Zelda games at the same time. For the 25th anniversary, they released 2 Zelda games and immediately began working on a 3rd. They basically did the same thing for the 30th anniversary, and now here we are at the 35th. We know they have literally always been working on at least 1 or 2 Zelda games. Seriously, during their entire lifetime of being a company, they have basically never stopped working on Zelda games. Some rumors suggest the Oracle remakes, which we will get to after this. 𝐓𝐵 also has a history of quickly remaking or porting their 3DS or older games to HD consoles. They literally just did this with Miitopia, which had an incredibly fast development time. This process of porting 3DS games to HD consoles is something 𝐓𝐵 has done several times, usually within 6 months to finish and using a smaller team. Honestly, it may sound crazy if you aren't familiar with game development, but Ocarina of Time HD and Majora's Mask HD could both be ported or remastered from the 3DS to the Switch in no time at all. This even includes if they want to add more features to the game or amiibo support, which Nintendo actually wanted to do on the original 3DS remakes. No, I don't see them being a bundle. If Link's Awakening and Skyward Sword were both full price at $60, I easily see both Ocarina of Time HD and Majora's Mask HD going the same way. Each game would likely quickly become some of the highest selling Zelda games, and it would be an incredibly stupid business move to bundle the games. It would be amazing for us fans though. Since we are already on the topic, the Oracle games. A big rumor had been going around about a bundle for the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons to be remade in HD by 𝐓𝐻𝐻 using the engine from Link's Awakening. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but just like the others, we have a video going more in depth with interviews with developers about this. Basically, Link's Awakening used Unreal Engine 4 and had a lot of negative feedback. Nintendo even mentioned Link's Awakening's technical issues and said they would be improved, which didn't really happen. Now, they just recently began hiring for a new Zelda game, but using Unity, which Nintendo suggested to 𝐓𝐻𝐻 and other developers, and happens to be one of the engines 𝐓𝐻𝐻 was originally going to use for Link's Awakening before trying Unreal Engine. So while 𝐓𝐻𝐻 could now be working on the Oracle games in the Unity engine, they would not go through all of the trouble they had with Link's Awakening, enough to throw away the engine and assets and begin using Unity, and then still choose to remake the Oracle games in that same engine they had so many issues with. If they are working on them, it just now began in Unity, but could still have a similar art style to Link's Awakening. People confuse a game's engine and art style as the same thing when they are completely different. You can have almost any engine look as realistic or cartoony as you would like. Example being Wind Waker, Twilight Princess running on the same engine. Some rumors suggested 𝐓𝐻𝐻 had already been working on these games, and no. Think about this. Instead of taking a year or two to remake the Oracle games from the ground up and learning this new engine, wouldn't it make more sense to be able to quickly port Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which they already created and are familiar with, and they also have a history of quickly remastering 3DS games for HD. And Ocarina of Time HD on its own would get more pre-orders at full price than a bundle of both Oracle games together's lifetime sales. Next, we have Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. Even though they are close to last on this list, they are still very likely to release. If Nintendo does have a bundle, I think this could be it. I don't think Nintendo would announce it until they are confident that Skyward Sword HD will sell well, or has enough pre-orders. With all the work they need to do to convince people that Skyward Sword HD is worth their money, they would not want to overshadow it by announcing even more remakes. It would cause so many people to refund their pre-order and put the money towards the other remakes, or even Breath of the Wild 2's pre-order. Part of me believes Tantalus is working on them as they originally remastered Twilight Princess for HD on the Wii U, so they would be familiar with it and could easily port it to Switch. Wind Waker HD was made by the same team that made Breath of the Wild, and even uses the same engine. We even have pictures and screenshots of Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess all in the Breath of the Wild engine as well. Notice Wind Waker HD looks a lot different than Twilight Princess HD when compared to their original games. For some reason, it seems Nintendo didn't trust Tantalus with their Zelda Wii U engine, and Tantalus was forced to just remaster Twilight Princess on their own, despite Nintendo literally showing off a tech demo of what they kept saying was what Twilight Princess would look like if they brought it to Wii U using that engine. And then they did bring it to the Wii U, but not in the engine. Maybe Nintendo would trust them enough now to allow them to port Wind Waker HD to Switch. I could see them selling for $60 each, but since they did release not that long ago, this is the only reason I think they could release as a bundle or individually for $40 or $50.
We also have some crossover stuff to talk about, similar to what we have seen with Elder Scrolls Skyrim getting Breath of the Wild, Link's Champion Tunic, Master Sword, and Hylian Shield, and the Majora's Mask and other Zelda items appearing in Animal Crossing games. The first would be Monster Hunter Rise getting Zelda-style armor and weapons. It will also receive new quests and monsters based around Zelda, so Zelda-themed or Zelda-style quests in Monster Hunter, and potentially Lynels, Goma, Wizrobes, Dragons, Darknuts, Skull Kids, etc. It would be super cool to see some of these. Personally, I would really like some awesome Zelda bosses. Just think about the dragon 𝐅𝐵𝐺𝐸 from Twilight Princess, how cool that would be to fight. Maybe even Ganon as an end of quest boss to fight, and who knows what else. Let us know below what you would like to see. Next is Sky Children of Light, developed by that game company that will receive new Zelda-themed content. This is meant to happen in June or July.
How are all of these games going to release though? Would 2021 be crammed with Zelda? Well, Mario's 35th anniversary still had games releasing the next year, and the series is still getting new games announced and older games getting updates, despite the anniversary officially ending. I think the same will happen with Zelda. So here's what I think the release dates will be. 𝐓𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐵 DLC this May and June, Skyward Sword HD releases in July, another remake releases this fall, maybe August or October. I would say Ocarina of Time HD. Majora's Mask could release around the same time as a collection, or Nintendo could save it for around Halloween or early 2022, because Breath of the Wild 2 will be releasing this holiday or early next year, similar to the first one releasing in March and 𝐓𝐻𝐿AMS releasing close to the holidays. Then we have the final DLC for 𝐓𝐻𝐿AMS in November. If Breath of the Wild 2 is saved for 2022, then I could see Nintendo releasing another remake, Majora's Mask. If it doesn't release in October or around Halloween time, as I mentioned earlier, or this could be where Wind Waker or Twilight Princess will drop. If both don't release at the same time, I could see the other being released in January or February. Whatever new game 𝐓𝐵𝐺𝐸 just now began working on, if it is the Oracle games, or the Minish Cap remake that we've heard rumors about, I think it would be summer 2022 or holiday 2022. As the game literally just began development. Honestly, the mobile game could be released at any time, probably around the same time as Breath of the Wild 2, to help build off of each other's success. Before we go, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone, especially our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That's it for now, but a lot of rumors, news, and details are slowly leaking out. So please, stay subscribed and notified, and join our Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. And you can find our Zelda podcast, the 𝐓𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫, here on YouTube and on iTunes, where we have had many guests who have worked on the Zelda series, and have shared a lot of amazing stories about voice acting, such as Patricia Somerset voice acting as Zelda, Mike Drucker on Zelda's writing or translation team, coming up with the jokes in the game, stories behind the names of characters that he created. Please subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. If you are a fan of our Zelda videos like this, Zelda Theories, our Zelda podcast, the 𝐓𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐿A on iTunes, we would all really appreciate your support at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That and buying our t-shirts will get you and your YouTube or Twitch a shout out every week on our 𝐓𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐝. And if you send in a photo of yourself in our GameOverJesse or 𝐓𝐼𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐝 t-shirt, we can use it for promotion at the end of some of our videos.